Hello and welcome to the final round coverage of the 2023 Disc Golf Open of Pennsylvania presented by Home Again. Thank you to our coverage sponsors for making this possible: Cosmic Disc Golf, D-Town Disc Golf, and Reaper Disc Supply. I'm Nathan Johnson and I'm joined in the booth and on the card by Dylan Horst. How's it going, Dylan?
Not too bad, Nathan. Excited to wrap up this tournament and see what happens. First off the pad, we have myself at 27 under par. Pretty consistent throughout the rounds, -9, -10, -8, followed by Shane McCullen, new person on the lead card, shooting -10 and a -12, two hot rounds to follow up round 2 and 3. Chace, pretty consistent as well, kind of fell a little back on round 2 and 3, but looking to kind of have that last push. And then Chris Villa having a hot second round. And round 3 wasn't great, but looking to kind of have his revenge. Here we are at hole 1, par 3, 260 feet. Play severely uphill. Two ways to attack are pushing hyzer and then
Capital
a flexing
Discs Open
forehand.
MPO champion. Birdie sponsored, Home Again sponsored, Mr. Mustache. Put your hands together. Dylan Horst.
Yeah, so you got yourself a 2-stroke lead coming into this final round. Obviously, 3 competitors on this card that are close behind, right on your tails, and we actually have 9 players in the field that are within 4 strokes of the lead. So it's sure to be an exciting finish either way, and it's really going to be a race to the finish on here at Klines Run. Maybe that round 3 coverage, if you haven't seen it, Dylan went a little bit long OB, so choose the safer option in this 4th round. Gets a little sneaky through those trees.
Discmania sponsored. Put your hands together for the bomber from Berwyn, Mr. Shane McCullen.
Yeah, Shane McCullen having the hot second round at -12. I had the fortune of talking to him and his dad. His dad was the caddy for the final round, and he just recently competed in the collegiate nationals recently and did pretty well. So it's nice to see him here and crushing it in our local scene.
Third off the tee, also Discmania sponsored. I met him 2 years ago in a 6-inch snow disc golf tournament. Last year, he won the 2022 Philadelphia Disc Golf Open MPO. That's a huge win on the East Coast. Put your hands together for Mr. Harry Chace.
Harry Chace, 3rd on the card. We did watch him on the round 2 coverage after his nice first round at Muddy Run. Was able to put together a nice solid 3rd round to jump back onto the lead card. And last year at this event fell 1 stroke short of the win, so he's definitely looking for a little bit of a revenge tour here to try to come back for a victory. Leaks that one a bit down the hill. It'll leave him a tester putt.
Westside Disc sponsored 2022 MP40 Myrtle Beach Opian champion. Put your hands together for Mr. Philadelphia.
Chris Villa, always a good representation of the Philadelphia area. We've seen him on coverage a couple times this week, and hopefully looking to kind of scrounge up a couple of those putting strokes that he was unable to drop the first few rounds. But here, throwing a nice hyzer flip up to probably about circle's edge, maybe just inside the circle, trying to see if he can capitalize and start off the final round to a hot start.
Yeah, nobody put themselves too close here on hole 1, so Shane wisely just going to opt to lay up. This basket is on a pretty severe slope, so if you do run a putt, you're not going to want to catch metal, or it could result in a pretty big roll away. So we'll see. Harry's probably about circle's edge, slightly down the hill, maybe just outside, but that's a good miss. The air ball is not a bad thing here. He either wanted to go in or hit nothing pretty much, and luckily he stays close.
Exactly, yeah. This green slopes pretty far down the hill to the right, and might have gotten Chris's head a little bit, kind of pulling it a little right, but still a good reaction, leaving it close.
Yeah, and you're able to connect there from a 25-footer after the drive. Leaks a little bit long. Nice correction made from round 3's tee shot on this hole. And a nice birdie to widen the lead. is a great way to start the final round.
Yeah, definitely a good way to start. Took a different approach on the tee shot, so it's nice to kind of play the hole and practice and warm up and have a new approach and try something new. And for once, it worked out.
Yeah, so often, try something in practice and you're that you don't normally do, and you're like, oh, that worked. That'll never work in a tournament, right?
Yep.
But this time it did work out for you. You got the birdie.
Hole 2, par 3, 206 feet. The flight that the drone's flying through is the ideal fairway to throw a nice hyzer out and around the tree to land nice and soft. The green does slope down the hill to the right, so watch out for pretty nasty rollaways. My shot, unfortunately, a little early, clips off one of the branches, still moves forward a little bit, but not necessarily in birdie position.
Yeah, anything outside the circle here is probably a layup, as this green is quite treacherous, and you'll often even see disc roll all the way down to the parking lot if they get on the wrong angle. So nice shot there from Shane. If you land it higher on the hill like he did, it does get a little bit flatter, especially if you're throwing a slower disc. So definitely the preferred landing zone.
Harry Chace here trying to throw a Sky God 4. Nice smooth stroke. Right around the tree after miss. Nestles right up pretty close to the basket, probably 10 feet, 5 to 10 feet away. So that'll be a nice way to kind of get his round started.
Yeah, really nice shot there. Yeah, you like that slow, straight putter play. Just lands nice and soft, nestles close to the basket. Never really any doubt that that one was going to be parked out of the hand. Villa, nice shot as well. Able to stick that overstable putter nice and close to the basket. Maybe a half run there.
That was more of a layup, just a little too high out of the hand, but fortunate enough that the roll didn't do me dirty there.
Yeah, sometimes the bad layups. Sometimes those layups up from 50 feet can be a lot harder than they look on coverage. You really want to make sure to focus, land the disc nice and flat, because it can get away from you quick if you're not careful. We saw that from Villa in round three's coverage, with an unfortunate rollaway. So nice birdies from Harry. Nice birdie for Shane as well, and Chris. They're all gonna make that stroke back up on you that you took from them on the first hole, and take it back to a two-stroke game.
Yeah, with both the first two shots starting off in severe inclines on the green, it's nice to at least get one of them. Definitely nice to get both, but one or the other is still okay. Hole 3, par 4, 388 feet. The ideal shot here is to try to get as close as silver basket here. Pushing a little long, it would just open up the next shot to kind of hit this probably 40 to 45 degree angled green going down to the orange basket. Two ways to attack. It's either the long pushing forehand that finishes right, or right here Shane is trying to throw the long turnover. He kind of gets it out a little bit left, so he doesn't hug the initial tree. So it's going to be a long shot in where it's going to be finesse is going to be the priority there, to try to land nice and soft, to try to get as close as he possibly can.
Yeah, this backhand turnover line is definitely the more aggressive play, to try to get yourself all the way up to the gap. Harry is putting this nice and high on a lot of angle. This is looking really great. Yeah, that's I mean, it may be pretty tricky footing from where he is, but he's going to be close enough to the basket that I'm sure he'll be able to make something work.
Exactly. Yeah. As getting as close as you can to the gap makes that second shot easier. If you can see the basket on your second shot, it's paramount. It's something that will definitely help you secure the birdie. Villa here, pushing it a little bit or pulling it a little bit on the inside, getting just short of the basket, but Villa's a technician when it comes to the upshot, so he'll have a nice crafty upshot to try to get up and down.
Yeah, if you're just going to opt for the safer forehand play, push something out on Hyzer. Oh, man, that's still really far up there. for a Hyzer forehand. One of the better ones I've seen off this tee. It's really hard to get the disc right enough. With the forehand play, you'll probably see a lot of players just kind of stall it out up the hill. But really well done, Shane, with just a jump putt approach, and that sits nicely close to the basket. This green is so steep, it does take a little bit of luck to get your disc to sit down flat.
And then Chris here trying to throw something pretty overstable to kind of land, hit the ground pretty quick. Unfortunately, didn't get the good roll and just hits one of the guardian trees, stands up, and just kind of takes a journey down to probably like 40, 45 feet. Unfortunate break.
Yeah, it's a brutal slow roll. That's kind of what this hole is, though. You just kind of throw your shot down towards the basket, hope it catches a log like yours did, and or did it not? Yeah, it did catch the log and stays close. But there's plenty of things to hit that could stop your disc. There's also plenty of things to hit that could stand your disc up and cause it to roll away. So kind of a 50-50 shot. Harry, yeah, after that great drive, has a jump putt, but just shorts it. And that's going to be a terrifying downhill putt coming up.
Yeah, it's almost like he's playing close to 8 feet down. Oh, no.
Yeah, and that's why it's terrifying. Catches the top of the basket, skips it all the way out into fours fairway, and tries to give a valiant effort, really, for the par save. But after that great drive, that is just a really tough birdogey to take.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a couple of these bad breaks during round 3. It's, again, the camera doesn't necessarily do it justice. It's probably close to like 40, 45-degree angle kind of down the hill. So if you don't land the disc flat, Shane lucky enough to capture the birdie there, kind of landing it flat on his way in, so it kind of skidded a little forward, or just getting a good enough break with the roll.
Yeah. I mean, players know that this hole is kind of a 50-50, so you have to kind of take the breaks when you get them, and when you don't get them, just, kind of shake them off and move on. It's just part of that mental battle that golf brings.
Yep, it's just the grind. 18 holes of disc golf, so just like 18 holes of golf, it's just the grind.
Yeah. And 18 holes after 54 holes of disc golf is even more of a mental battle.
Since 2021, Homagan Disc Golf has been committed to bringing the highest quality discs, apparel, and accessories to players on and off the course. No matter where you are, when you're on the course, you're home again.
Hole 4, par 4, 394 feet. The ideal shot here is to throw a pushing hyzer that finishes left. There is OB far enough right that if you push your disc too far straight, you might end up in the out of bounds. But as soon as you throw your pushing hyzer, you should be in a good enough spot to throw another pushing hyzer up the hill to get yourself in position to score.
Yeah, this is really just a placement shot off the tee. No need to try to bite too much off Shane. Probably just throwing a mid-range or maybe stable fairway driver straight to finish, and that'll leave him another kind of similarly shaped shot up the hill to hopefully to grab the birdie. What are you throwing here?
I'm throwing a Halo slab from Infinite, so pretty stable, probably one of the most stable discs in my bag, trying to throw something as a pushing hyzer, matching the shot from the first round. Kind of juice this a little bit. And
oh, wow. What
Yeah.
a break. Just barely stays in bounds. Yeah, that's kind of the danger there of throwing the driver. That backside road comes in quick, but a very fortunate break to keep you in bounds by just a few inches.
That was a surprise. I didn't know it was that close.
So here's Villa. Also probably going with an overstable driver. Just, yeah, puts it in the perfect spot. That's a nice shot.
Yeah, this is one of the holes you don't need to really get distance. Distance really is not needed on this hole. Like we were saying earlier, throwing with the driver, you don't really need to. I think Harry here is kind of toning down on something. I think throwing a stable mid. Just trying to push the gap, make sure he doesn't go too far, and land in the landing zone just like the other 3 players.
Yeah, so I mean, realistically off the tee, you don't really want to push this road. But if you do end up in a pretty open spot. Opt for the forehand there, and which kind of tickles some branches, comes up a bit short. These three other players are likely going to have a backhand hyzer up this hill into the green. It's a pretty big gap from here once you throw a good tee shot, and Harry's able to execute that pretty perfectly.
Yeah, it's almost like the first shot. If you just chop this hole into two different parts, 2/3 of the hole is probably a pushing hyzer off the tee, and then the last third is probably a pushing hyzer up to the basket. So same shot, just kind of tone down the distance, and yeah, it's a pretty simple birdie in retrospect. With all three people in the perfect landing zone, getting themselves in a really good position to score.
Yeah, definitely a simple birdie. Definitely not an easy birdie though, and an even harder eagle. As you connect on the birdie putt, that's well done. We do have to give a shout out. Lucas Oberholzer Hess was on my card, threw it in from about 250 feet up the hill for the deuce on hole 4. So super impressive.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know as the first round here wasn't necessarily the best upshot, so it's nice to walk up to the same upshot and actually execute and get the eagle.
Yeah, so we've got 2 birdies so far, 2 birdie putts coming up. And as Harry connects, we're going to be looking at a star frame here on hole 4 from the lead card. Players are starting to get into a rhythm here and trying to make a push for this title. Nicely done across the board.
Hole 5, par 3, 274 feet. The initial shot off the tee, it plays a little uphill, but again, it's another pushing hyzer. You kind of want to throw it at this group of trees to the right that fades a little left. Since the green kind of slopes to the left a little bit, your disc will naturally finish a little bit to the left. You kind of just have to watch for their ground play. Shane here throwing a fairly good shot, probably a little short, maybe like 20, 25 feet, but in a really good position.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty straightforward hole, not much in the way if you're a righty backhand player. Should be a shot that everybody in the MPO field has in their back pocket. This hole did play as the easiest hole on the course for round 4 at a 2.36 average. So if there are any must-get birdies on this course, this is one of them.
Chris throwing another hyzer. Nice, good ground play. Puts himself within 20, 25 feet again. Yeah, and this hole probably has one of the best views of the Susquehanna. So if you ever find yourself at Klines Run, feel free to take your selfie pic or your, practice round pic on this hole. It is magnificent.
Yeah, Harry makes a kind of a common mistake that you tend to see on this hole. Comes up a bit short. It is a blind tee shot, so you can't quite see the basket. Players oftentimes will come up a bit short and just leaves that putt a bit low, unable to connect. And that's gonna be a tee shot he's gonna want back.
Yeah, it's like the two plays are either a little short or kind of fading out a little left, but nice for the other three to kind of pick up the birdie. But yeah, unfortunate for Harry, not necessarily his best effort. Hole 6, par 4, 554 feet. The ideal shot here is to throw a pushing hyzer that goes through this gap that the drone is flying through to land somewhere around here. Your second shot from here is as straight as you could possibly get, probably about 300 feet to kind of just get past this last guardian tree, skid up to the basket, get your easy birdie. It's kind of a choose your own adventure type of hole. You can either throw the pushing hyzer, kind of like, it looks like Shane's actually going the inside gap, tags one of the last guardian trees and kicks a little right. But there are a couple different gaps to hit. You need to do the pushing hyzer, flex forehand, plenty of routes.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably even throw a forehand over the road if you wanted to. I don't know why anybody would want to do that with bringing the OB into play, but This is a nice correction for yourself after that first round, able to hit that gap. Get a little bit of a cut roll ground play, but should stay in the middle there. Round three, we saw Chris go for the straighter gap, kind of pushing that backside tree line, fading just in front of it. We'll see if he's able to replicate that here. A little low out of the hand, probably a little more flip up than he would have wanted, but that stays on the edge there. So that'll give him a pretty open upshot into the basket, probably somewhere around 300 feet.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a little bit of awkward footing, but Chris is pretty good with his patent pending, so he still has an opportunity. Then Harry trying to throw kind of a mimic shot of what he did last round. Just that pushing hyzer to kind of hit the center gap. Fortunate enough to get, yeah, no, it was perfect the whole way. Maybe a little bit on the inside, kind of got a little lucky on the inside, but seemed to work out.
Oh, wow. So Shane kicked all the way down here. We're on hole 15 or 14's fairway. Still very much scrambleable from down there. You can kind of go out and around that cluster of trees that we're seeing Chris have to step out from. Probably out of birdie range, though, but still not too much of an issue. This is the hardest hole on the course at a 4.22 average, so par is just fine here. As Chris Villa throws a really great patent pending, spears the gap perfectly, comes up a tad short, but that'll leave him a birdie putt after the tricky lie off the tee.
I'm here going for a grenade shot. The gap wasn't necessarily the most open, so when in doubt, try to make the disc as vertical as possible and try to skid your way up there. Ended up a little short, but gives myself probably like a 35, 40 footer.
Yeah, I mean, it worked. Yeah, there's a lot of, when you get pinched off on the left-hand side, there tends to be quite a few. I mean, the gaps just shrink. There's a lot of trees over there. So, yeah, if you're throwing the disc vertical, a lot less likely it's going to hit a tree. So, I respect the play. Harry's given this a bit of a run from probably 60 short. You got to be careful with those putts because it does slope down away from the basket, and there is also an OB path that is deep and left of it. So, definitely want to give it kind of a safer bid, if any, as you kind of did there, just barely short off the cage from about 35 feet.
And then Villa here, after his very nice patent pending shot, a little too much juice on the putt, skips off the top. It's going to give him a little bit of a tester on his comeback putt, but he was fortunate enough not to get out of bounds. But
Nicely done.
putt.
Yeah, collects himself, cans that comebacker to save the par. I'm sure not the result he would have liked after that great second shot, but still nicely done nonetheless.
Yeah, and like you said,
here.
it was the hardest hole, so getting a par on this, not necessarily the worst thing.
Yeah, I think as long as you're staying clean, kind of hitting your initial gap off of each of your two shots and give yourself at least some sort of outside look at a birdie or maybe an easy par, most players will be happy with that.
Hole 7, par 3, 271 feet. This hole plays severely downhill, probably 30 to 40 feet. There's two main gaps to hit. So there's a forehand off the left-hand side where you would throw kind of something flat that would stall out to the right. Or you have this gap that Shane's trying to hit, a nice long turnover that fades out. Now the issue here is just coming in with a little too much pace. Looks like Shane tagged one of the final guardian trees, which isn't bad because there is out of bounds long of the basket, but it's going to be a very scary putt if he does want to run that for birdie.
Yeah, distance control and landing your disc flat is really the name of the game on hole 7. It is quite a ways downhill, and it slopes even more as you get closer to the basket. Oh my gosh, Dylan hit the cage for the second time in the tournament off the tee. What a shot, and sticks it close. Wow. That was incredible.
That was exciting.
Yeah, final round ace would have been something. Here's Chris. He's going to opt for the backhand line. Just catches that late tree as well. But wow. Let's
And
see if
here we
Harry
have
can
Harry.
replicate it. Yeah. He's
Yep,
opted
Harry
for that
trying to,
forehand.
yep, trying to go to the left-hand side. Essentially trying to throw the same shot. It's a tactic, so not necessarily a lot of glide, fairly stable. Trying to get in front of the last tree on the left. I think swings around it, but gets himself in a great spot with a nice little skip and a roll.
Yeah, that was really nice. Wait, so did you guys know that your shot hit the basket from the tee? Because you can't see this basket from the tee pad. It's pretty much completely blind.
Not at all. I didn't even know it hit the basket until I don't think any of us knew until we were on the tee pad to the next hole.
Nice. That's funny.
Yeah. I was very surprised when I walked up and it was right next to it. Villa with a very nice tester putt to save his par.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those holes that you can think you threw a perfect shot off the tee, especially like in practice when there's nobody else around, and then you walk up to the green and your disc is just nowhere to be seen because it like rolled away or you just sailed it. Like who knows? It could a multitude of things could have happened. So Harry here has a short birdie putt after a great drive, able to connect. And yeah, you were lucky enough to stay close as well after hitting the cage. You never know what can happen on this course on some of these greens after you hit metal from any distance, really. But it's going to be a tap-in birdie nonetheless.
Hole 8, par 3, 380 feet. The flight that the drone's flying through is the ideal shot. Now you do have to watch out, there is OB on the left-hand side. So you either have to be very committed on the right-hand backhand hyzer flip, or if you want to kind of mitigate that, throw a power forehand through the same gap to push straight. The ideal shot to get parked is to throw the flex. That'll fade a little left, but to hit the initial gap, the power forehand is the way to go.
Yep, there's that power forehand you talked about. Finishes a little right of the basket, but on this hole, any putt is a good thing because there's a lot of danger that can come into play, especially if you go with the backhand that Harry's lining up. That OB path on the left-hand side can come in quick if you catch a tree at any point in the flight. Harry catches one of those trees that we talked about, but he kicks to the right-hand side, so we'll be safely inbounds, but we'll have some work to do to get the par.
Yeah, Shane here trying to hit the same gap. Hugs it a little bit on the left-hand side, hits the last guardian tree, but still is able to kind of get up there. He's gonna have a long stab at it if he's feeling it, but yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah, Shane was one of the two people to birdie this hole in round 3, so definitely has what it takes to grab the birdie, but just didn't quite execute as much as he would have liked. And Chris pulls this tee shot, and there's that out of bounds we talked about. There's just nothing that stops your disc if you kick left with a righty backhand on that tee shot, and just finds its way all the way down to the road. Harry with a kind of burned over second shot. I don't know if he'll even have a pop from down there. Still going to be quite a ways from the basket on his third shot.
Yeah, and Villa leaving it just a tad short. It's probably going to be outside the circle to kind of save his bogey. Shane, happy with the par, just laying it up. So it's definitely a good par to kind of get, being one of the tougher par 3s on the course.
Yeah, and that's where Harry's second shot ended up. So the long stab for par comes up a bit short. This is going to be Chris for bogey now. Probably just outside the circle, slightly uphill, just catches the right side of the cage, but unfortunately doesn't stick. And now Dylan Horst for the birdie, connects from 30 feet. That is definitely a bonus birdie if I've ever seen one.
Oh, for sure. Yep, especially with the forehand because it's hard to get it straight enough. So having something push that far straight, that was probably as straight as I could have pushed a forehand. So I'm very happy with that to at least give myself an opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're kind of playing for that circle's edge look. Best case scenario. Oh, I think I know what you guys are looking at. but we won't spoil it. You'll have to stick around for the back nine to find out what happened.
Hole 9, par 3, 354 feet. Playing downhill, this OB path on the left that the car drove down is out of bounds on and across. The two ideal shots are either a pushing forehand or flex forehand that misses the last tree in the middle and fades out to the right to the basket, or if you have something flippy on a putter or a mid-range that you throw with a little bit of hyzer that pops up the flat that cruises around to the right that misses these low branches right before the basket.
Yeah, that's a very understandable mistake to make, kind of sawing it off. And did you find the OB right, or is that still in bounds?
It's still in bounds. It's just
Okay.
not necessarily a great putt. It's far enough away that there's going to be some cabbage to kind of deal with up to kind of get my birdie.
Yeah. That final tree has some really low hanging branches, as you can see here. So if you're short of it, you almost have no putt because of just how low the ceiling is. Shane opts for the forehand as well, just a little low, kind of burns it into the ground there. A very safe play, but definitely not going to put him in birdie range. I watched Harry absolutely park this hole in round 3 with this exact low P2, so let's see if he's able to replicate it here.
Has a nice drift and filters through the low branches, and looks like it's pretty close representation of what happened first round.
Yeah, I mean, he was literally under the basket in round 3, but I'm sure he will still be very happy with a 15-footer. That was a really nice shot. Chris is opting for the backhand line as well. A little low, but sneaks under the branches, and he's going to be looking at a nice birdie putt as well.
Yeah, Shane here trying to decide how aggressive he wants to get. He's just going to kind of lay it up there. Branches were a little too low. He didn't really have a good opportunity to kind of stab and give it a little run.
Okay, so yeah, you kind of got past the tree. Still kind of have to work around those branches. Didn't quite give it the height you needed. Still a tricky putt, but a little better than I expected. Chris, though, pretty much an open 20-footer, 25-footer for his birdie. Connects there. Pretty solid. And then Harry after just an absolute picture-perfect drive with that slow turning putter. Park job and a solid birdie. And that's it for the front nine. Dylan Horst got a 4-stroke lead on the card, but there are a couple people in this field that are making a really strong push from the Chace card and beyond. So make sure you come back for the back nine. Thank you to the supporting sponsors, the Norse Gods, as well as the Patreon family for making this coverage possible. 9 more holes in this year's Disc Golf Open of Pennsylvania. Come back and catch the finish. You're not going to want to miss it.